A certain child did something wrong for whatever reason. Gets called into the principal's office, and the principal says, "Young man, why were you?" Let's say he was bullying another child. "Why were you bullying this other child?" And the boy says, "Me? Bullying him? No such thing. He was bothering me. And I was just defending myself." And the principal says, "Really?" And the principal pulls up the video camera and shows the child on the video screen two boys that are sitting in a class together, sitting next to each other, doing work, seem to be minding their own business, and all of a sudden one of the boys reaches out and whacks the other boy. And the boy who was the whacker, who whacked the other boy, he was the boy that was sitting in the office. And the principal says, Is that you whacking the other boy?" And he says, "I was just defending myself." "Defending yourself from what?" "He looked at me weird. And he was making me feel really horrible. So I had to defend myself." And that's what you see on the screen. I'm defending myself. Now, who thinks that this boy is a little crazy?
Me. He's not a little.
He's a lot crazy.
No, he isn't. He's being smart about it. He doesn't want to get in trouble. He's trying to finesse.
I would say that we can all recognize that this boy, he's out of his mind. Obviously, if you are above the age of 1, you are not allowed to use physical violence on someone else because they looked at you funny. But here's the problem. How often do we make such rationalizations and justifications for things that we do that don't make any sense? And in fact, there's a term for it nowadays, which is what I started with: his reality, her reality. And you'll read about this in the media. You'll read about this perhaps in a newspaper. You'll see this on a news show. You'll see this about some defendant saying that it was my reality. I felt like I was being under attack, so I took certain steps. And I had to do that because I had to defend myself. And is that person crazy? Are they acting insane? And the answer is of course they are. But the question that we have to think about for ourselves is how often do we do this? How often do we act in this way? You see, the important thing to note is that when someone says, well, this is my reality. This is my truth. The truth is that it does seem very, very real. And I want you to all think about this for yourselves, right? If somebody slights you, hurts your feelings, it seems so real. It seems so like we're under attack. It seems like the world's crumbling, right? It seems very, very real to us. But yet, it's your emotions. And if you would react emotionally differently, so then it wouldn't be that way. So could you really say that it's real? But to you it is. And it's so, so important to make sure that your emotions line up with real reality. And let me give you an example from this week's Parsha where we see such insanity playing out on a national scale. You ready for this? At the end of last week's Parsha was Bo, right? At the end of last week's Parsha, what happened at the end of last week's Parsha? By raise of hands. The very end of last week's Parsha, what happened? Anybody? So far I see Eliyahu and Yehuda. Anybody else? And Benny and Aaron. Anyone else?
What?
Elnatan. What happened at the end of last week's Parsha? He was absent. Okay.
We're still last week's parasha.
Yosef, what happened at the end of last week's parsha? I'm sorry? So at the end of last week's parsha was the last plague. And what happened after the last plague, Idan? Yetzias Mitzrayim. Now Yetzias Mitzrayim, right? How did Yetzias Mitzrayim happen? How did the Jews leave Mitzrayim? Did they just walk out calmly? Not even for a second. The Mitzrayim were kicking them out. They were throwing them out. They said, "Get out of here." Why? Because they realized that these people were bad for their health. Having the Jews in Mitzrayim was simply, it was bad for their health, and they had to get them out as soon as possible. Now, on their way out, the Jewish people asked their Egyptian neighbors, could they have some of their gold and silver and jewelry to adorn themselves with while they're leaving? They want to leave in style. And the Egyptians said, sure, just get out of here. Kind of thinking maybe they're going to get it back, maybe, I'm not really sure, but okay, just here, take it and get lost. 3 days later, it dawned on them, they ain't never getting that money back. And that's when they had a change of heart. That's when they said, what? Why did we ever kick those people out? Why did we let them leave? And they chased them to bring them back. And of course that set up the infamous splitting of the sea where the entire Egyptian army was drowned. But can I ask you a question? Let's say you were a reasonable, rational observer living in Mitzrayim at the time, right? And I were to ask you, Chaim, does this make any sense? Is this rational? These people that just tormented you and abused you and harassed you for almost an entire year and completely wrecked your economy and completely, wiped out all the senior leadership of the entire Mitzrayim just 3 days ago, you're going to chase them to bring them back? Are you crazy? But I lost a couple of bucks. Okay, so you lost a couple of bucks. Just go try to make more money. Don't chase them and bring them back. What are you, nuts? They became so crazy over the money that they lost that they were acting insane. And they were ready to chase these people to their deaths, meaning to their own deaths, which is what happened. They were acting insane. And what's the reason why they were acting insane? Because their reality, their truth, their emotional reality was so shocked by this loss of money. They couldn't handle it. And they ran literally to their grave in the bottom of the Yam Suf, in the bottom of the sea. So let me ask you, so what do? Let's say we see that we have such problems, we have such challenges, where sometimes our grip of reality, our grip of the truth is tenuous. We get thrown by our emotions. What should we do? What's the solution? We get very thrown by our emotions. Something happens, either our sense of self is insulted, our money is damaged or under attack, right? Our children, right? You could see some people that if their child is challenged or their child is in danger, it could bring out sometimes the best, but sometimes the worst in them. So what do? Any solutions? Anyone have any ideas? Anyone have any ideas or solutions? What would you do? Are we cooked? Are we cooked? So there's a lot of potential solutions. There's a lot of ideas. But I want to share 2 of them with you today. Yaakov Yoel. The first one, which I'm not going to spend so much time on, but the first one, very simply, is to have an anchor of truth. To have an anchor of truth. What does an anchor of truth mean? An anchor of truth means a friend or someone that you can speak to who's living the real reality and who's not stuck in your emotional reality, who you can talk things out with. If you have an emotional anchor, if you have a friend who's outside of you that you can talk to and you can talk through the emotional turmoil you're going through, that could be very, very helpful for you to regain balance of reality. You're so thrown, you feel so miserable that X, Y, and Z happened, and therefore you're going to go destroy your life. If you have a good friend can talk you through it and say, okay, it's very hurtful, it's very problematic what happened, but maybe it's not the best idea to drive your car off of a cliff because you're upset at the mechanic who ruined your car. Probably it's not the best idea. Okay? So if you have a good friend who could talk that through with you, it could be very, very helpful. I have a Rebbe that I'm very close to that sometimes now I just have to imagine myself sitting down and talking to him, and that in and of itself helps me to clarify, okay, I could just imagine what he would respond to me and what I would respond back and what he would right? And then okay, I can reattain my grasp of reality. But there's another solution, and this is something that we could really all work on. And that is as follows. All of us sense truth. We can all sense truth, right? Right? You can sense the truth. We're all wired, we're all programmed in a way to be able to detect truth. The question is like this. Do we love truth and hate false? Or do we sometimes kind of like falseness because it helps us? And do we sometimes push away the truth because it's painful? The more that we love the truth and hate that which is false, the clearer reality will be. The better that we'll have a grip on the truth. And this extends to every moment of our lives. We're always either strengthening our hold of the truth and our allegiance to the truth and our disdain and our if you could use the word hate for that which is false and not true, or the other way around. Let me give you an example. And this is very, very innocuous. It's so innocuous. It's so part of our culture. But it's something that struck me the other day. Someone asks you ready? And this happens a lot of times with older people. Maybe kids don't have this as much, but it's something that you could take lesson from. Someone asked me the other day. Someone asked me, "Did you get around to doing X, Y, and Z?" And I was about to respond, "I didn't have a chance to." Now let's think about that. I didn't have a chance to. What does that mean? It means I was really trying. I would have loved to. I just didn't have the moment to be able to do it. Is that true? Or is that false? It's false. It's not that I didn't have a chance to. Of course I had a chance to. I just didn't do it. So much throughout our language and the way that we express ourselves and how we talk. And this is really what the Cheshbon Nefesh says. If a person wants to strengthen his allegiance to the truth, be careful with what you say. Be careful with your speech. Not important speech. Stupid, silly speech. Those little white lies that we just say to be able to, smooth the bumps in the road. Right? Those little stupid things that we say, that determines so much. Do we really love truth and are we really connected to the truth and hate that which is false or not? And what's the benefit to us? The benefit is how much will your truth and your reality be the reality? Or unfortunately, the other way around. And obviously, someone who's not really sure what reality is, someone who's pulled into a world of falseness and untruths, he can end up doing something so insane as being upset at someone for cutting him off on the highway, jumping out and starting a fight with someone and risking his life. It's called road rage. Happens all the time. Right? Road rage. Happens all the time. And you look around and you see so many examples of this, where people, because they're so trapped in their version of reality, that they end up literally shooting themselves in the foot.